when I started like learning about the Agile Manifesto, I think that was around 2009. So it was already like 5 years later. But there it was a bottom-up thing. We as a development team, we said we want to do this and we will improve and we will kind of, we started using Kanban, very interesting at that time, because at every step we had new ideas and it developed and it became really better. Yeah? And we were proud of this. And yeah, in the last years, there were these corporate frameworks like SAFe or LESS. And then people within the company starting to fight which is the better one and which one we should adopt. And
Hmm.
I have to be honest, I have a really bad feeling about these company or corporate frameworks, um, because I mean they introduce a lot of new kind of positions and new workflows, but I don't see how it helps us to develop a better product. It's somehow bloatware. Yeah? I mean, but I'm a little engineer, so I don't know about the big things going on in the company. But still, I have the feeling that it's a bit. I mean, it's what I tried to say before. It's companies who want to sell something, and they sell you anything if you are ready to
Hmm.
pay some money. Or do you have something a contradicting idea?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we're in a capitalist society. I mean, if you can make money, you make money, right? And there are some people who have a lot of scruples, and there are a lot of people who don't. And I mean, it's just a free for all. And yeah, sometimes the people, there's an idea that it starts out good, and it just gets corrupted. I mean, if you look at GE, let's use a company for instance. GE at one time was the world's biggest company. It was it had its fingers in everything. It was the best at almost everything. It was the golden child of the corporate world. But then Jack Welch came along and he brought his style of management and leadership to it. And unfortunately, GE's filing for bankruptcy, I do believe. The company is not doing well at all. And also, it's being split up as a way to, uh, make a
To
bit of
increase
money
the value?
so it
Yeah.
doesn't have to default. So, I mean, an idea can start out well, but the desire for money can really ruin a good thing along the way. And so um, maybe this is what happened with SAFe. Maybe it was an honest attempt, and I do believe it was an honest attempt at the beginning. But the dollars really rolled in, and I think they might have gotten blinded a bit by that. I could talk more about SAFe and how they could have avoided that, but I just want to point out that things like less, which are less corporate in the sense that um, there are less certifications and um, they're pretty expensive. I mean, so is SAFe. Um, but after that, it's more of a homemade thing. I mean, you don't need certified ultimate less Uber trainers. I mean, yeah, like you have these like crazy titles in SAFe. It's a bit more organic, let's say, and yeah, so less has stayed a bit more pure. Um, hmm.
Okay, good to know. Yeah. Yeah, I always had them. Yeah, that is normally the problem. Like you have some agile teams, and then you try to make a big thing out of it, and this is where many organizations have failed in the past. And maybe it's really um, an open space which has to be filled somehow. No? But I never saw anything convincing, no? Especially
Mhm.
when introducing Safe. I didn't feel that this helps in any way. I actually had even the impression that it gives some guideline to the company management, um, makes it more convenient for them without, let's say, they didn't have to fulfill their own responsibility of organizing stuff. Yeah? They had something which looks easy, yeah? But at the end, I think it would have been better if they had thought themselves, what is the best structure for us? Yeah? What positions do we need? Yeah? But of course, that's a
Absolutely.
much harder problem.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Okay,
it should
so
always be that way. I mean, everything comes back down to the context and is the tool that you're using, whether it's safe or less or Scrum or whatever, is it appropriate for your own context? And I think, unfortunately, this is the conversation that's missed, which has ended up giving Agile a bad name because it's like, hey, we're running a company. Yeah, of course, we're going to use Scrum. Well, did you really stop and consider if that's actually the way that your company should work? And because people, they have heard enough that they are like, yeah, Agile or Scrum or Kanban, that they kind of diagnose themselves without actually having somebody come in and study the context of their company and actually making um, a recommendation on how to proceed. That really causes a lot of damage. If I can make a funny analogy, it's like if you go on to Google and you searched, I stubbed my toe, why does it hurt? And the result is, you've got cancer. I mean, it's, or I've got a bit of a fever, why do I have a fever? Well, WebMD says you have cancer. It's like, well, great. I mean,
I'm
it's
doing
it's a
this right
bad
now. I'm
diagnosis.
looking what the answer is.
Okay.
This is because your toe contains several nerves and they don't have much fat to cushion them when they are injured. Yeah, okay.
Okay, fair
The
enough.
pain might get better in a few minutes
That's
or might
that's
linger
a
or
that's a
worsen.
relief to know. But yeah, anyway, um, the
Yeah, okay,
the
so
the
I mean, sorry for interrupting. You already mentioned Scrum, and that was also is one of my big questions. I see that Scrum is very popular. I would say it's by far the most popular implementation of Agile. Um, I have my doubts about it as well. So maybe you can talk about Scrum a bit. Um, I mean, there are other ways of doing things, right? Right? Why was Scrum so successful, and is it really the best method? I mean, you already mentioned that it's probably not good for everyone, but or it's the
Sure.
easiest to start. It's a kind of entry, and then you develop further.
Yeah. Yeah, so the reason why Scrum is so successful is because one, it predates the Agile Manifesto, so does Kanban. Um, but yeah, so Scrum was actually developed by engineers for engineers. It's a work that started in the 80s and it was being developed ever since and finally was codified in the way that we know it today. So again, it was for engineers by engineers. This means that it is legitimately applicable for most software engineering problems out there. So the kind of, in the most simple terms, the dichotomy between lean and agile. So that would be Kanban versus Scrum. Is that lean works in things, sort of systems where there are a lot of knowns, and you just need to tweak things slowly along the way. Meanwhile, Agile and therefore Scrum is good for systems or projects where there's a lot of unknowns, a lot of exploration. It's built so that you can hit a wall. If you can make a mistake, you can, you know, screw something up. You can learn something within 2 weeks, and then you just iterate on that. Okay, this didn't work, so then we're going to try that kind of thing. So it's really about working with unknowns, and yeah, so rightfully, it is meant for software development. And because it became the default choice, I can't fault anybody on that. I mean, again, it's how it was designed.